Hi, I'm T.P.L with T.P.L Global. In this video, what I'd like to share with you is the individual applications and some of the supporting evidence which you have to include in order to ensure that your U visa petition gets approved with USCIS. And this video is a follow-up to another U visa video in which I discussed the criteria that an applicant must satisfy in order to ensure that they are in fact eligible for applying for a U visa. So if you've watched that, you've determined that that you meet the eligibility, and you're trying to figure out now, okay, what individual applications and supporting documents do I have to include, then this will be hopefully helpful for you. So what you have to include is a form I918, that's the petition for U-Nonimmigrant Status, also known as U visa. You have to also include a I918 Supplement B. Now that Supplement B is critical to the U visa petition because it has to be certified by a qualified official who has the authority to sign off on that. So often that'll include a chief of police or a detective with the police department that has jurisdiction over the qualified criminal activity. Sometimes it can also be one of the attorneys at the DA's office. It just depends on the individual case. You'll have to figure out who will be the appropriate person, but it's critical that the appropriate person signs off on the I-918 Supplement B and that the certified Supplement B is included in your U visa petition. Now, you want to also make sure that you include an I-765. That's the authorization for an EAD. That's your work permit. So in the past, what attorneys were doing is submitting the U visa petition without that I-765, and it made sense because the work permit would be issued upon approval of the I-918. Now, this past year with USCIS issuing a policy update in which they've determined that bona fide petitions will be eligible for a work permit for 4 years as well as deferred action for 4 years. So in terms of strategy, it's advantageous to include the I-765 with your U visa petition so that when USCIS is reviewing it, they can issue you employment authorization, an EAD, employment authorization document at the time that they review it. You want to also make sure you include a waiver if necessary. So if you have any inadmissibility issues, you want to make sure that a waiver is included to address them so that you don't delay the adjudication of your U visa petition, or worse, that USCIS finds that you're in fact inadmissible and therefore rejects your application. You want to also make sure to include a personal statement. Personal statement could describe the event that took place, could describe how you're impacted, how you're adversely impacted by the incident. What if physical injuries were sustained, the substantial physical abuse or the substantial mental abuse that you suffered and may be suffering on a continued basis. So all of that should be documented in the personal statement, and a personal statement is required, so you want to make sure you include that. You want to make sure you include a copy of your government-issued photo ID, so sometimes that'll be your passport, sometimes it'll be a driver's license, just depending on the individual client. You want to also make sure that you include a copy of the police report. Often that's included with the I-918 Supplement B, but if it's not, you want to make sure that that's included. If the police are able to provide a specific statement, you want to make sure that that cover letter also gets included. And if you are going to include any derivatives, so derivatives for a U visa petition could include, for example, spouses and children. So children have to be under 21 and unmarried. So if you're going to include any derivatives, you have to include an I-918 Supplement A. For each of the derivatives that you're including, you've got to also make sure that you have evidence establishing that relationship. So for example, if it's a spouse, you want to make sure you include the marriage certificate. If it's a child, you want to make sure you include a birth certificate for the child, and you want to also include copies of their government-issued photo IDs as well. Of course, you want to also make sure you include the appropriate USCIS filing fees. So if you are the U-Visa petitioner yourself, you don't have to include filing fees for the I-918 or the I-765, but if you are going to be submitting a waiver, you want to make sure to include the processing fees for your waiver, and if you're including any derivatives, the derivatives will have to include their processing fees. So for example, I-765s, as well as any waivers that the derivatives need to file for will have to be included in the initial submission. If you don't include the appropriate filing fees, USCIS will send back the petitions that the required fees were not included for. So thank you for watching this video. I hope this was helpful in establishing most of the applications and supporting documents. Of course, depending on your individual case, you may want to include more evidence to detail the specific criminal activity took place and the specific substantial physical abuse or substantial mental abuse that you incurred, as well as how you provided assistance to the police or the DA's office, and all of that will depend on your unique case. So you'll want to make sure that you speak with an attorney to ensure that all of the sufficient evidence and forms are included. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for other U-Visa petition videos that I make to ensure that your U-Visa petition gets approved without risking delay or worse, rejection. Thank you.